Globalization has been variously described as cultural exchange, as standardization, as spread of technology and ideas, and as movement of capital and labor. Whatever perspective one takes, globalization is a phenomenon that affects all of us as we go about our daily lives, at home and at work. There was a time when a popular perspective on globalization was that of the flat world, where people could, and I quote, plug, play, compete, connect, and collaborate with more equal power than ever before, unquote. This portrayal of globalization is only partially correct. And to get a grasp of the current scenario, it is important to understand the trajectory of two kinds of inequality. First, between country inequality has been on a downward trend for the last 30 years. This trend has been driven largely by growth in India and in China. The average citizen of a poor country is still significantly poorer than the average citizen of a rich country. To put things in perspective, and I report Branko Milanovic's research, the poorest people in the US are on average, richer than India's richest. But overall, international income inequality has reduced a little. There is a sense of optimism in the catch-up economies of Asia and elsewhere. In many developed economies, there is a sense of gloom and despair. The results are mixed for the second kind of disparity, which is within country inequalities. Some countries have been able to reduce inequality within. However, inequality within most of the OECD countries has been on the increase. Inequality is also on the rise in China and India. Understanding these two kinds of inequalities is also useful to get a sneak peek into the future. In mid-19th century, when Marx and Engels said, "Workers of the world unite," the statement made a lot of sense because there weren't large differences in wages between workers of the developed world and workers of the developing world. Between then and now, industrial capitalism has helped the workers in the developed world secure their rights in fair measure. Workers in countries which did not benefit from industrialization have remained exploited and marginalized for centuries. In India, for example, workers employed in the informal economy or unorganized sector, which includes landless laborers, subsistence farmers, fishermen, dairy workers, rural artisans, servants and maids, handloom weavers, street vendors, carpenters, are a staggering 93%. And a number that is on the increase. I think this year it is about 94%. Yet we increasingly hear Marx and Engels' original slogan being changed to a different one: "Workers of the Western world unite." This puts location before class and the geography of the migrant labor before the proletariat. Branko Milanovic notes, in today's world, 60% of the global income dispersion is explained by country of citizenship, 20% by parental income. Both are accidents of birth, but location supersedes class. Within country inequalities are seemingly of less interest, especially if these are not about one's own country. This is not surprising. Oversimplifications such as Europe, BRIC, Asia, or Chindia, the most recent one, have become common. Examples of regional variation within nation states are not very difficult to find in Brazil, China, or India. However, inequality within the emerging economies tends to resemble the experience of industrialized economies, such as Spain, Sweden, US, or the UK. Initial disparities is exacerbated by rapid growth, followed by phases of convergence, when poorer regions gradually, I'll say very gradually, achieve their aspirations of relative equality. Early signs of such convergence are already being apparent in China and India. These inequalities between country and within country are linked in complex ways. The indomitable P. Sainath, rural affairs editor of The Hindu, reports an incident that brings this phenomenon to life. When a farmer in the Indian state of Maharashtra was asked what was his dream, he responded he had no hope of having his dreams fulfilled in his current life. But in his next life, guess because he was a Hindu farmer, he wanted to be reborn as a European cow so that he can get more subsidies. Since 1997, more than 200,000 farmers have committed suicide in India. 10 years ago, protesting against cotton subsidies in the United States, the presidents of Mali and Burkina Faso wrote an article in the New York Times. It was titled, "Your farm subsidies are strangling us." Little has changed since then. These voices bring the context back in, and attention to geography will help us understand both relative and absolute deprivations. The portrayal of globalization as exchange is perhaps the most alluring, most uplifting. Rabindranath Tagore, the myriad-minded poet, expressed this eloquently. Whatever we understand and enjoy in human products instantly becomes ours, wherever they might have their origin. Let me feel with unalloyed gladness that all the great glories of man are mine. Since the days of colonialism, a particular kind of globalization, spearheaded by the nexus between large multinational corporations and nation states, has made this exchange unequal and unfair. It remains to be seen how this exchange unfolds itself in the 21st century. For this conference, we have brought together scholars from different academic disciplines interested in exploring the interface between globalization and geography. We believe it is time to understand the ways in which globalization has impacted and is still deeply influencing the geographies of our world. We believe that it is also time to explore how geography encounters, translates, resists, and reacts to globalization. We have put together an interesting set of papers from all over the world addressing this interplay between globalization and geography through a focus on different dimensions: the nature and role of multinational corporations, global value chains, international trade, transnational governance, development and sustainability, crisis and the management of risk, as well as the particular cases of emerging economies in Asia. We would like to thank Professor Saskia Sassen and Professor Prasenjit Duara for delivering the keynote speeches. The breadth of their intellectual contributions and the relevance of their scholarly insights will no doubt greatly stimulate our discussions. We would also like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the staff at ESSEC Business School for their help in organizing this conference. We sincerely hope you'll enjoy the conference and participate in the discussions.